Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 44 of Builders Talk. And today, I wanted to ask you the question, are you a late or an early adopter of new ways of doing things or new technology? So I find typically builders are late adopters of new ways of working or adapting to new technology. I guess we get bogged down in the doing the work, that we don't have the time to stop and analyze new things that could be beneficial to our way of working. When we come across new technology, it is hard for builders to sometimes justify the pain of switching over to the new thing. For example, when management programs such as Co-Construct and Builders Trend come into the market, many builders thought it was too expensive and it took too long to set up the program for it to work effectively or feel like they were using it to its full capacity for the money that they're outlaying. We often get caught up in the cost of a product. So again, I'll use the example of Co-Construct. This is a program that I use to run our projects and client management system, and it costs me around $600 a month after the conversion of the US dollars, which I'm sure is going to start to get more expensive as our dollar seems to be dropping against the US. But this cost allows me to run 10 projects at any one time, along with having the ability for us to use it for prospective clients. Now, I know it sounds a lot per month, but if you break this figure down into a cost per day, even per working day, so 5 days out of the week, it works out to be about $25 per working day. So the question you need to ask yourself is, does this program save me 1 hour per day of time? If I'm paying an administrator to work in my office for $25 an hour, and it saves them 1 hour a day, and that 1 hour a day they can be using to be working on something else in my business, is that worth it? And I know most of you would probably say yes, but often we don't look at it in that type of way. So, has anyone truly explained the benefits or the problem that it would solve for your business when you're looking at these new types of technologies? So builders will buy all the new tools for the trade, that helps them work efficiently on the job site, but often forget about the ways to make the actual business side of things more efficient. There's nail guns rather than hammers. If you look at the cost difference of the physical tools, say a hammer might only cost you $10, probably a good one's a bit more. And then a nail gun can cost you quite a bit depending on what style of one that you're after. I think I looked up a fixing one was about $800. So it is a fair bit more expensive than the traditional way of doing things, but it is a lot more efficient and gets you through your job quicker, which makes you more money, which gets you onto another job to make more money, using a circular saw as opposed to a handsaw. So you need to start looking at the business tools in the same way that you look at your tools for the trade. Often we're just scared to make a change. We start questioning, what if this, what if that? But usually after going through the learning curve or the setup of, say, for example, Co-Construct, you kick yourself as to why you didn't make the changes earlier. But we get stuck, and I guess the saying by Albert Einstein, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again in expecting a different result. If things aren't working in your business, it might be time to look at what changes could be implemented to push your business forward. And this comes down to having to evolve your business. I know this is my word for the year, so you might hear it a lot, evolve. But the actual definition of evolve is to develop gradually, to become something different, or to occur or follow as the consequence of something. So we want to gradually develop our business to become something different. If it's not working for you, what needs to be different? What needs to change? And the only way to make this change is to adopt something different. And I was listening to a podcast the other day by, it's called The Game by Alex Hormozi. And he said the only way to change your experience within your business is to change the model you are using. You need to let the old model die for the new one to live. So it sort of got me thinking, well, okay, what do I need to change in my business that's not necessarily working? What do I need to kill off? What do I need to die and let lie to make a change and to make the business move forward? So, you might need to look at a new model. You might need to look at what are your business goals and how can you achieve them. If your current business isn't letting you reach them, do you need to change that model so that you can sustain growth? Or you can scale to be more profitable for the capacity that you desire. I don't believe getting caught up in other people's definition of success for your business. There's a lot of talk about the $1 million builder. And I guess to have $1 million net profit, you potentially are needing to make $7 to $8 million in turnover to get that. And for most mum and dad small businesses, which is most of the people that, I'm looking to help, that's not necessarily possible. And it puts a lot of strain on their family and on their business. And it doesn't necessarily get you, I guess, any better result, because to have that $8 or $9 million turnover, you've got more staff, you've got more overheads, you've got more expenses. So you don't necessarily get a better return percentage-wise than if you were to make your business better and increase your profit lines and make that business work better for you and more efficient. And you might find that your actual profit margin will be better than if you were aiming to go towards that, I guess, $1 million builder. So for some, they do want to be bigger, but that bigger doesn't always mean that it is better. And you need to work out the sweet spot. What is your capacity? What suits your lifestyle, not what others tell you it should be. Through the life cycle of your business, you may get to a stage where you think you need to change something. So we're talking about change. But a lot of people, when they think about changing their business, they think, okay, what extra things can I add into my business to make more money? Let's go and add in a different stream of income, to make things work, because you're thinking, well, this thing isn't working at the moment. So what can we add to make it work that will make me more money? Instead of sort of taking a step back and going, hang on a minute, what if we just focused on our business that we've been doing for all these years? You've done the hard work. You've learned all the hard lessons. Each year you progress through your business, you're learning new things. You're learning what should be done, what shouldn't be done, the ways to talk to your client, which ways to, have a discussion about selling your product to your client. You need to get to a point where you can start to refine and become better, and better can bring you better returns. You have built up the knowledge, and you just need to focus in on the experience and find ways to channel what knowledge you've accumulated. So don't be blinded, I guess, by the old ways. There is so much available in the new ways of technology that can push you forward and further and faster and more efficiently. But we have to take a step back to often move forward. The current environment we are working in is the perfect time to change that model. Everyone is accepting of change at the moment. Hi, Larissa, how are you going? We're all having to adapt and pivot quicker than any other time in our lifetime. Are you going to evolve and adapt, or are you going to be one of the ones that are chasing your tail to keep up? There is a new generation of builders that are sitting on our coattails waiting to leapfrog us. They're more tech savvy. They're more into looking for ways to make their lives easier. Our daughter's started work with us lately, and I'm, I guess, amazed at how quickly she's picked up the technology that, if I think back to when I started using those types of things, there was a learning curve and it took a bit longer, but she seems to just take it and run with it. I've given her jobs that I sort of give to her, and the next minute I turn around and she's watching YouTube videos, and I'm thinking, what are you doing watching YouTube? And then when I actually look what she's watching, she was actually looking up what I told her to do to find a better way or an efficient way, or make sure she's doing it the right way. These are the differences between the generations, and the generation of builders before us, we've evolved from there, but it's still evolving, and we need to keep up with that if we want to stay ahead and be better. So I guess the generation that's coming through, you might see them as being afraid of hard work. They're not necessarily afraid of hard work. They've just been conditioned to find other ways of making things work. So they question how things work. If you've got apprentices, probably question you more than maybe ones have before, because they're looking for ways to work smarter. We were brought up in an era of just work hard and you get rewarded. but it's no longer the case. Working smarter is the new normal, and we need to evolve into that. So how are you going to evolve, adapt and change your model to make it more rewarding for you? It all starts with changing your mindset to a new way of thinking about your business. So Larissa's saying, yes, take time and space to propel forward, and younger generation is fast to navigate through technology. They certainly are. And I mean, even just the difference between my husband and I, it's only 3 years, but the difference, you know, I draw plans on computers. He can still hand draw, but I can't hand draw and he can't draw on computers. And that's just a 3-year gap. So, you know, that next generation of builders are coming through. They're coming through and they're leapfrogging some of the builders that are, you know, that are older and probably have more experience. But these new guys coming through have found better ways to advertise and better ways to get their business seen and be louder than us, that they are, you know, the ones that are dragging the work towards them. They're not necessarily a better builder, but they're more savvy in getting the business. Whereas typically before, builders focused on the building and the house, but the only way to be seen is to be out there and be seen, which they are definitely better at doing. So, you know, clients won't accept the old way. They're even more savvy. They're, you know, researching before they even come and speak to a builder. You know, they have access to more and more information, and they will and do question everything. So you've got to stay in front of that. You've got to be a leader. Step up to the change to build a better building industry. You know, how will you capitalize on this new way? Larissa said, imagine combinations of these generational knowledge. Yeah, I mean, put the two together. If you've got, you know, my daughter, for instance, and me, that can build a better business because she can build that technology into our business that I've probably struggled to do. And they seem to just pick it up and do it and run with it really quickly and easily. So, you know, how will you capitalize on this? I'm currently in the process of writing a new book, which will be about a new and better way of doing business in your building company. So keep an eye on it. It's still a few months away, could be 6 months, don't know. Let's see how we go. But until then, keep powering your business, and I'll see you next week.